Good afternoon everyone. My name is Naveen Yadav and today in the polity section we are going to take up this important topic, that is the legislative process in Indian Parliament. As you all know, recently the Parliament session it came to an end and a number of the bills have been passed by both the houses. Some of these bills which have got assent, they have become an act, and some of the bills are still pending for the presidential assent. Today's lecture would be about the procedure which is adopted by both the houses with respect to the different kinds of the bills. So we are going to understand what is a bill and how it becomes an act. The different kinds of the bills which are introduced in both the houses and their procedure for the passage of such bills. And in the end we are going to discuss about joint sitting, in which kind of situation joint sitting can be summoned by the President under Article 108. So moving on to the lecture, beginning with it. So in the introduction, as we all know, under the Indian Constitution, the Parliament is the supreme legislative body. It can frame law on the union subjects, that is on the union list which has around 100 subjects, and it can also frame a law on the concurrent list. In the case of the concurrent list, what is different is the state legislature can also frame a law on the subjects of the concurrent list. But the laws framed by the Parliament, they enjoy supremacy over the laws framed by the state legislature. Before proceeding with the lecture, first we need to understand what is a law, because most of these bills which are passed by the Parliament, which then after receiving the assent of the President, they become acts, they become laws. So a law in simple words refers to a set of rules and regulations which are required for the orderly functioning of a modern nation state or society. For example, CPC, IPC, CRPC, these are different kinds of the law which help in the orderly functioning of the society as a whole. And as the Parliament is the supreme legislative body, it represents the whole of the nation. It has passed a lot of laws on a different variety of subjects. For example, on the environment, like Environment Protection Act, Wildlife Protection Act, Maternity Benefit Act, Child Labour Abolition Act, etc. So legislative proposals before the Parliament, they are brought in the form of the bills. So first we need to understand what is a bill. So bill is a proposal for the legislation. A bill then is considered by both the houses. It is passed by both the houses, and after the passage of the bill by both the houses, it is sent to the President for his assent. So a bill can be a private member bill or a government bill. For example, a private member bill is introduced by a member other than a minister, whereas a government bill is introduced by a minister who is responsible for a particular ministry. Moving on further to the stages in the passing of a bill. So a bill, for example, when it is introduced in Lok Sabha, it goes through 3 stages in the first house. then it is referred to the second house, and the bill again goes through the 3 stages in the second house. So first we are going to understand what are these different stages in the passing of a bill. In the first reading, if a bill has been introduced in the house, so it needs to be published in the Gazette. If the bill has not been published in the Gazette, then the member who is responsible for introducing the bill, he has to take the leave of the house. But if the bill has already been published in the Gazette of India, then the leave of the house would not be required. It is important to note that at this stage there would be no discussion on the bill. Then the bill moves to the second reading or the second stage. In the second stage, the bill receives detailed scrutiny and it assumes its final shape. Here what would happen, that there would be discussion on the bill in the second reading, and the discussion would be on the bill's principles and the provisions, so that every member would be aware of what the bill is about, what is the title, etc. And after this, one among the 4 options might be taken by that house. That is, bill can be taken up for consideration by the house, or the house can refer the bill to the select committee of the house for detailed, in-depth, close examination of the bill, or the bill can be referred to the joint committee, means a committee of both the houses, or it could be circulated to elicit the public opinion, to know what the public thinks about the particular bill. Usually what happens is that the bill is referred to the select committee of the house, and this committee examines thoroughly different provisions, different clauses of the bill. This committee can also suggest amendments on the bill. The select committees, they are basically appointed for specific purpose, for examining specific bills. If we take an example, a committee can be appointed on the personal data protection bill, banking regulation amendment bill, and these committee, they suggest important amendments, they closely examine it and then report their findings to the house. After the report of the committee, the bill comes back to the house. So house has 4 options. It will go to the committee if only the house that says that it has to go to the select committee or the joint committee. Otherwise it would be taken up straightforward for consideration and passage. But if the bill is referred to the committees, whether the select committee or the joint committee, then it will come back to the house, and when it will come back to the house, certain amendments could be moved, or the recommendation of the committee could be also be accepted, and if such amendments, they are passed by or supported by the members, then they are incorporated into the bill. Okay. Moving on to the third stage of the bill, or the third reading. So here the debate is confined either to the acceptance or rejection of the bill. The house will, or the members will decide whether the bill needs to be accepted or rejected. So if it is passed, then presiding officer would send it to the other house. He will authenticate it and then send it to the other house. So for example, a bill originated in Lok Sabha and now it is passed by the Lok Sabha, so it will then be authenticated by the speaker and then sent to the Rajya Sabha. So now the bill has come into the second house or the Rajya Sabha. So bill will again go through all the 3 readings in the second house, and the second house has 4 options after these readings. It can pass the bill without amendments. Second thing, it can pass the bill with amendments. In that case, the bill will return to the first house for the consideration. Third is, the other house or the second house can reject the bill altogether. The bill comes to an end. And the fourth is, the other house can keep the bill pending. It would not take any action. But there is a limitation. For example, the other house can keep the bill pending for a maximum period of 6 months. Next, for example, if second house it passes the bill without amendments, or it moved certain amendments and the first house it accepts the bill or accepts the amendments were made to the bill, then it is referred for presidential assent. And when a bill is referred for the presidential assent, President has certain alternatives. President has certain options. That means he may give his assent. The President may give his assent to the bill, and if he gives his assent to the bill, it becomes an act. In the second case, he may refuse to give his assent to the bill. In that case, the bill would come to an end. It would not become an act. In the third case, he has the power to return the bill for reconsideration of the houses. And if after reconsideration the bill again comes for his assent, then he has to give his assent. He is bound to give his assent. Moving on further to the types of the bills. So under the Constitution there are 4 kinds of the bill: ordinary bill, financial bill, money bill, and the constitutional amendment bill. So we are going to begin with the ordinary bill mentioned under Article 107 or 108. The procedure has been mentioned for the ordinary bill. So what is an ordinary bill? So a bill which is not a constitutional amendment bill, which is not a money bill, or which is not a financial bill, is a ordinary bill. We are going to study the financial, money and the constitutional amendment bill separately, and we will study them in detail. What do they mean by these words: financial, money and constitutional amendment? So going on with ordinary bill. An ordinary bill, it can be introduced in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So both houses have equal powers with respect to the introduction of the bill. Second thing, the bill would not require the previous recommendation of the President for its introduction in either house. It can be introduced without his prior recommendation. Third thing is, Rajya Sabha has the power to amend or reject an ordinary bill. Why I am mentioning this is that in money bill, Rajya Sabha has certain limitations. It cannot amend or reject a money bill. So, but in ordinary bill, it has the equal powers with Lok Sabha. And when the bill it needs to be passed, it requires simple majority, that is majority of the members present and voting in the house. For example, if 300 members are present, then a majority would be 151. In any case, if 200, then 101, then that means a majority of the members present and voting in the house. So other thing that is important to note about an ordinary bill, that the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, they have the power to keep the bill pending for a period of 6 months, but not more than that. And also, when an ordinary bill which originated in Lok Sabha and then it is referred to or transmitted to Rajya Sabha, then it does not require speaker's certification like a money bill. When it is passed, it is sent to President's assent. So in the case of ordinary bill, if the other house rejects the bill or does not pass the bill for a period of 6 months, then President can summon a joint sitting, because a deadlock has emerged. As both the houses, they have equal powers in the case of ordinary bill, so a joint sitting would be summoned. We are going to study the joint sitting in detail in coming slides. So now moving on further. So Parliament, President, he can reject, approve or return the bill for reconsideration. If the bill has been introduced by a minister, if the ordinary bill that has been referred for that has been introduced in the house is by minister, that means it would be a government bill. If it is defeated in Lok Sabha, then the government may have to resign. So this is a kind of a convention that if government loses on certain important issues, it may have to resign or it may have to prove its confidence in Lok Sabha. Certain ordinary bills that have been passed recently by Parliament, they are FCRA Amendment Bill 2020, Banking Regulation Amendment Bill. Okay. So moving on to the second kind of bill, that is the Constitutional Amendment Bill. So what is a Constitutional Amendment Bill? So Constitutional Amendment Bill is a bill which seeks to amend one or more provisions of the Constitution. So mentioned under Article 368. So Constitution can be amended with the help of such a bill. Now again, both houses have equal powers, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. This kind of bill can be introduced in both the houses. And in Constitutional Amendment Bill, again, no prior recommendation of the President would be needed. Without his recommendation, such a bill can be introduced in either house. Also, when this bill is taken up for consideration or passage, then it requires special majority. A special majority means a majority of the member of the house present and voting, and a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting. So I will explain these majorities, different kinds of majority, in a separate lecture, but for now we shall proceed further. So it can be passed only by a special majority, and even on this kind of a bill, a deadlock might emerge. Both houses might differ on the provisions in the bill, and in such case the bill would come to an end, because there is no provision for holding a joint sitting in the case of a Constitutional Amendment Bill, as both the houses, they have to pass the bill in separate sittings. There cannot be a joint sitting. Now when the bill is passed by both the houses, it is sent to the President's assent. So after 24th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1971, the President has been bound that he shall give his assent. Failure to give his assent would amount to the violation of the constitution. So that has made the president to be, that has made president binding, because he has now has to give his assent. He cannot exercise any other option. He cannot return it. Okay. So moving on further, a money bill. So a money bill is defined under Article 110, 110. So it deals with one or more money matters. And what are these money matters? So these money matters, they have been defined under Article 110 only. So a bill which pertains to these matters would be called as a money bill. Okay. So what are these money matters? For example, imposition or abolition, alteration, regulation of any tax. Second thing, borrowing of money by the parliament. Third thing is the custody of the Consolidated Fund of India or the Contingency Fund of India. Fourth thing is the appropriation of money out of Consolidated Fund of India. That is money which is taken out of the Consolidated Fund of India. A Consolidated Fund of India, Contingency Fund of India and the Public Account of India, these are different kinds of the funds which have been established under different articles. We will study about them in the chapter on the Parliament. Okay, we will discuss them in detail. How do they differ from each other? So fourth or the fifth money matter is that receipt of money upon the Consolidated Fund of India or the Public Account of India. If any money is received in the Public Account of India or the Consolidated Fund of India, then it is also called a money matter under Article 110. And any expenditure which Parliament declares as a charged expenditure, upon the Consolidated Fund of India. So what is different about charged expenditure is that there can be discussion on the charged expenditure, but there can be no voting upon it. For example, certain expenditure are called charged expenditure in order to maintain the autonomy or independence of that institution. For example, the finances and expenses of the CAG, Supreme Court, High Court, etc. Okay. So now we will not consider a High Court. Let's stick to the CAG or the Supreme Court, because only the pensions of the judges of the High Court, they are paid out of the Consolidated Fund of India. Other matters, they are under the Consolidated Fund of the state. And last is, that is the any matter which is linked with above money matters. So if a bill is related with any of these matters, then only it is called a money bill. Now let's study the procedure. Let's look into it, how the procedure is different from the ordinary bill or the financial bill, constitutional amendment bill. So the most important thing about a money bill is that it can be introduced only in Lok Sabha. It cannot be introduced in Rajya Sabha. And it requires the prior recommendation of the President for its introduction in the Lok Sabha. Second thing, again, it needs simple majority, that is a majority of the members that are present in the House and voting at that time. Third, as we talked about earlier, that when it is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha, it carries Speaker's certification that it is a money bill. He does not need to certify ordinary bill, constitutional amendment bill, that what kinds of bill are they. But in case of money bill, he needs to give his certification that this is a money bill, because the procedure of passing a money bill is different from the three other bills. And Rajya Sabha, for example, when the money bill it moves from Lok Sabha to Rajya Sabha, it has limited powers with regard to the money bill. Limited powers because first of all it cannot be introduced in Rajya Sabha. Second thing, it cannot amend or reject it, but it can suggest amendments to the Lok Sabha. But it is the prerogative of Lok Sabha whether to accept or reject those recommendations or the amendments suggested by Rajya Sabha. If such amendments they are suggested by Rajya Sabha, then the bill goes back to Lok Sabha, and if Lok Sabha accepts the amendments, then the bill is deemed to have been passed. Also, if it rejects the amendment which are suggested by Rajya Sabha, even then the bill is deemed to have been passed, but in the form in which it was referred by Lok Sabha to Rajya Sabha. So you can see how Rajya Sabha has limited powers in the context of the money bill. Cannot reject it, cannot amend it. Also, when Rajya Sabha does not act on the money bill for a period of 14 days, then also it is deemed to have been passed by Rajya Sabha. So in case of ordinary bill, the time period was 6 months, but here only 14 days. If it does not passes the bill within this period, then it is deemed to have been passed. When referred to the President for his assent, then he may give his assent to the bill, he may withhold his assent, but he cannot send this bill or cannot return the bill for the reconsideration of the houses. This is a limitation upon the powers of the President under money bill. And usually President gives his assent because the bill was introduced into the House or a Lok Sabha with his prior permission. So he would definitely, in most of the cases, he would give his assent to the bill. So every year the budget is presented in the Parliament under Article 112, also known as the annual financial statement. So under it, no money can be appropriated. Constitution says that no money can be appropriated out of the Consolidated Fund of India without the Parliament's approval. So Parliament passes appropriation bill in order to take money out of the Consolidated Fund of India. Also, it passes financial bills which finances the expenditure or takes care of the revenue part of the government. So you can observe the budget proceedings, can also understand it deeply, how money bill is discussed in both the houses, what are the powers of the President with regard to the money bill, okay, and what are the limitations of the Rajya Sabha in the context of the money bill. Now moving on to the financial bills. So a financial bill is defined under Article 117 of the Constitution. So financial bill, it contains non-money matters or matters which are different from those mentioned under Article 110. That means we studied certain matters under money bill, that is these imposition or abolition of a tax, borrowing of money by the Parliament, custody of the Consolidated Fund of India, appropriation of money out of Consolidated Fund of India, receipt of money out of Consolidated Fund upon Consolidated Fund or public account of India, declaring any expenditure as charged expenditure, or any matter which is linked with above. So a financial bill would not contain any such matter which is mentioned under Article 110. That is why it is called as a financial bill. It relates to the money matters but not those mentioned under Article 110. So financial bill is a bigger category. All the money bills, they are financial bills, but all the financial bills, they are not money bills. Okay, and again Rajya Sabha has limited power with respect to the introduction of the financial bill. A financial bill can be introduced only in Lok Sabha, and that too only with the prior recommendation of the president. Requires simple majority to be passed. For example, recently the code on the social security and code on the industrial relations, they have been introduced and passed by Lok Sabha, okay, as a financial bill. But Rajya Sabha has limited powers in case of financial bill only at the introduction stage, not at the further stages. That means it has the equal powers in the passage of the bill. It can amend it, it can reject it, okay, and a deadlock might emerge between both the houses and a joint sitting can be summoned by the president. And also when it is brought for the presidential assent, he can give his assent to the bill, he can withhold his assent to the bill, or he can return the bill for the reconsideration of both the houses. So now moving on to the next topic, that is the joint sitting under Article 108. So Article 108 provides an extraordinary machinery to deal with certain kinds of the situations which might emerge, okay, that is when a deadlock emerges between both the houses. So this deadlock has to be resolved. So when a deadlock might emerge, for example, when a bill which is passed by one house, then it is rejected by the other house. Second thing, there is a disagreement on the amendments to the bill. Third thing, the other house, it keeps the bill pending for 6 months and takes no action. In that case, in all these cases, the president can summon joint sitting under Article 108. But summon of a joint sitting can be done only on the recommendation of the Council of the Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. So there would be no joint sitting in case of a money bill, because as we have studied earlier that Lok Sabha has overriding powers in case of money bill. If Rajya Sabha does not pass money bill for a period of 14 days, it is deemed to be passed. If it amends or rejects, but Lok Sabha passes the bill, then also it is deemed to be passed. So it has, Lok Sabha has overriding powers in case of a money bill. And why it cannot be summoned in case of a constitutional amendment bill? It is that both the houses, they have to pass the constitutional amendment bill in separate sittings. They cannot sit together while passing a constitutional amendment bill. For example, now moving on to further, that what happens if a bill has been introduced and the bill, it lapses because the Lok Sabha has been dissolved. What would happen in that case? Then joint sitting cannot be summoned on that bill. But if joint sitting was summoned by the president on that bill prior to the dissolution of Lok Sabha, then that bill would not lapse on the dissolution of Lok Sabha. Okay. So if joint sitting was summoned but prior to the dissolution of Lok Sabha, bill would survive. But if the bill lapsed due to dissolution of Lok Sabha, then joint sitting cannot be summoned. The bill comes to an end in that case. Now coming on to who will preside the joint sitting of both the houses. Now both houses are sitting together. Who will preside over them? Speaker or the Vice President, or the also known as the Chairman or the ex officio Chairman of Rajya Sabha, the Vice President. One important thing to note about the presiding of joint sitting is that only the speaker, deputy speaker, or the deputy chairman, or any other member which is chosen by the members who are present at that time can preside. In no way Rajya Sabha chairman can preside over joint sitting. Okay. So a quorum. What is a quorum? So quorum means minimum members that would be required to conduct the proceedings of the House. So under Constitution, in order to conduct the proceedings of Lok Sabha, a quorum of 1/10 of the members would be required. And if such a quorum is not present, then the presiding officer would end the session for that day. Okay, would end the proceedings for that day until the quorum is properly constituted or the more than 55 or 60 members are present. So in case of joint sitting, what would be the quorum? 1/10 of the total members of both the houses. So 545 plus 245. So 1/10 of those would need to be present in a joint sitting. And a bill which have gone for a joint sitting, it would also require a simple majority. So there would be no special majority. Okay. So bill again would be passed with a simple majority, because ordinary or the financial bills, they are the only bill they can be referred for joint sitting. Okay. So they require simple majority for the passage. So there are certain rules with regard to the amendments which can be proposed during such a joint sitting. So new amendments to the bill, they are usually not proposed during such a joint sitting. Only those amendments that have led to the disagreement, okay, or amendments that have become necessary due to the delay in the passage of the bill, they can be passed. For example, delay here means if other house did not take action for period of 6 months, 4 months, 3 months, and these amendments, they became necessary because of the delay that have been caused by the other house. Such amendments can be included in the bill, or the amendments on which the final disagreement has taken place. Okay. So no other kind of amendment would be proposed at such a sitting. Usually what happens, as you all know, Lok Sabha has 545 members at present and Rajya Sabha has 245 members. So Lok Sabha with the greater numbers always wins at such a joint sitting. And it is very important to note that till now joint sitting has been summoned for 3 times only. First in the case of Dowry Prohibition Bill 1960, second in the case of Banking Service Commission Repeal Bill 1977, and third in the case of the Prevention of Terrorism Bill 2002. So it is important that you remember when this joint sitting took place, because they have been asked in certain examination by the UPSC. So it is also important from the prelims point of view, or whenever you are writing a mains answer on the joint sitting, you can mention such bills. These examples, they help fetch you more marks at mains examination. So this topic is important from both the prelims and the mains perspective. Okay, whether you can be asked how a bill becomes an act, or you can be asked to elaborate the procedure of the passage of different kinds of the bills. Okay, so how important this topic is from the prelims point of view, it can be gauged from this previous year question that UPSC have asked every other year almost. So I think these are easy questions and can be answered on the basis of the understanding that we have developed over this lecture. Okay, now let's see what are these questions that have been asked over these years. So this is a question from the UPSC prelims 2013, and what does it say? What will follow if a money bill is substantially amended by the Rajya Sabha? We know that Rajya Sabha has limited power with respect to the money bill. So let's see the options. First option says that Lok Sabha may still proceed with the bill, accepting or not accepting the recommendations of the Rajya Sabha. Is that correct? Yes, absolutely, that is correct. So we have found our answer in the very first option. Let's see other options. The Lok Sabha, it cannot consider the bill further. No, that is totally wrong. It can go ahead even when the Rajya Sabha does not passes for a period of 14 days, or even when the Rajya Sabha passes with amendments, it can ignore those amendments. Lok Sabha has overriding powers. C option is Lok Sabha may send the bill to the Rajya Sabha for reconsideration. Why it will do that? Although it can, but it is the prerogative of Lok Sabha to do that. Okay. But if it does not, but if it say that the bill is substantially amended, if the bill is substantially amended, Lok Sabha can reject those amendments. Okay. And the fourth is the president may call a joint sitting for the passing of the bill. So you know that we have gone over the slides of ordinary bill or the financial bill. We know that only the joint sitting is summoned for ordinary or the financial bill only, not for the money bill. So usually what would happen? Lok Sabha will still proceed with the bill and it would accept or not accept the recommendation of Rajya Sabha. That would be the correct option in this case. Moving on to the next question. So this is a question from the UPSC Prelims 2013. Okay. So question says that consider the following statements. So the first option is, the first statement says that an amendment to the Constitution of India can be initiated by an introduction of a bill in Lok Sabha only. No, we have gone through these bills and we know that a constitutional amendment bill can be introduced in either house of the parliament. But one more thing that I want to explain here is that a constitutional amendment bill cannot be introduced in a state legislature. It can be introduced at the parliament only, in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. So the first option says that it can be introduced in Lok Sabha only. So that is wrong. If such an amendment seeks to make change to the federal character of the constitution, that is the power sharing between the center and the states, the amendments also required to be ratified by the legislature of all the states of India. So when we will discuss the federal structure, we will also study this, how many states they require they need to ratify the constitutional amendment bill. So if any amendment is made to the constitution and that to the federal provisions, in that case that amendment requires to be ratified by the legislature of half the states, not all the states. So this is also wrong. So which of the statement given above is correct? So none is correct. So D would be answer. So this is a UPSC prelims question from 2012. It says that a deadlock between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, it calls for a joint sitting of the parliament during the passage of ordinary legislation, money bill or the constitutional amendment bill. We have gone through our slides and we know that Lok Sabha has overriding powers in case of money bill, so not joint sitting could take place. Okay. In the case of constitutional amendment bill, both houses need to sit separately. So in case of ordinary legislation only, the joint sitting can be summoned, or the financial bill. But financial bill is not on the option here, so we are not going to consider it. So select the correct answer using the codes given below. So only ordinary legislation can go for joint sitting. Okay, note second and third. So this is a question from UPSC Prelims 2017. What does it say? So when a bill is referred to a joint sitting of both the houses of the parliament, then it has to be passed by. So they are asking about the majority that would be required at the joint sitting. Okay, so first option says that a simple majority of the members present and voting. Second option says 3/4 majority of the members present and voting. We know that this can't be the case. Okay, so 3/4 of majority is not required in any of the bill. 2/3 majority of the houses, no. Okay, absolute majority of the houses, no, because the joint sitting is summoned only for ordinary plus financial bill, and these bills they are passed by simple majority. So in case of joint sitting also a simple majority would be there. We have just gone through that slide. So a simple majority of the members present and voting, that would be the correct answer. So you need to think before you are going to answer, and you need to read the question properly. First read question properly, twice or thrice, then go through the options, evaluate the options while reading the question. Okay, then choose the correct option. Eliminate whichever you think it is totally absurd, it is cannot be correct. Okay, moving on further, consider the following statements. This is a UPSC prelims question from 2015. So it says that Rajya Sabha has no power either to reject or amend a money bill. So this is correct. It has no power. It cannot reject the money bill, it cannot amend it. It can just suggest amendments. Second says that Rajya Sabha cannot vote on the demand for grants. So this demand for grants voting is a privilege of Lok Sabha only during the budget. Third, Rajya Sabha cannot discuss the annual financial statement. So annual financial statement is nothing but the budget. So Rajya Sabha can discuss the budget. Okay. So which of the statements given above are correct? So we know that Rajya Sabha has no power either to amend or reject a bill. Correct. Second thing, Rajya Sabha cannot vote on the demand for the grants. This is also correct. Rajya Sabha cannot discuss the annual financial statement. This is wrong. It can discuss it. Okay. So which of the following statements above given are correct? First and second. B would be our answer. Okay. Moving on to next question. So it says that with reference to the Parliament of India, consider the following statements. So a private member bills is a bill presented by a member of the Parliament who is not elected, but only nominated by the President of India. Second thing, so let's consider the first point. It says that a elected member is considered as a private member, not a nominated member. But we know that a bill which is presented by a member other than a minister is called a private bill. So it does not matter whether it has been presented by the elected member or the nominated member. So this is wrong. Second thing, recently a private member's bill has been passed in Parliament of India for the first time in the history. No, this is completely wrong. This cannot be correct, because till now 14 bills they have been passed. 14 private member bills have been passed till now. So this statement is totally wrong. So which of the statements given above are correct? First cannot be correct, second cannot be correct. So option would be D, neither 1 or 2. So next question is regarding money bill. So you would find that there are a lot of questions on the money bill, because there are certain extraordinary provisions which have been given for the money bill in the constitution. So let's see the question. Regarding money bill, which of the following statement is not correct? So first says that a bill shall be deemed to be a money bill if it contains only provisions relating to imposition, abolition, remission, alteration or regulation of any tax. That we studied. Yes, that is correct. Second is, a money bill has provisions for the custody of Consolidated Fund of India or the Contingency Fund of India. That is also correct. Third is, a money bill is concerned with the appropriation of money out of the Contingency Fund of India. No, that is wrong. It is concerned with the appropriation of the money out of the Consolidated Fund of India. Contingency Fund of India is used to meet the requirements of emergent circumstances, for example, emergencies like a disaster. Okay. And D, a money bill deals with the regulation of borrowing of the money or giving of any guarantee by the government of India. That is also correct. So which of the following is not correct? Third is not correct. Okay. All these are correct. So moving on further. So that was our last question. So you have seen that this chapter has a lot of importance, whether it is for the prelims or the mains. And I think this is the level to which we have to understand this chapter. We did not need to go further because the questions, they are getting repeated, and these are the provisions which are mentioned in the constitution itself. So we have studied all the provisions related to such bills. So you do not need to consult any other thing. Just go through the standard textbook. For example, Laxmikant you can refer. As also you know that polity is a dynamic subject. So you need to keep yourself updated, because the Laxmikant, it also only deals with the static part, while the newspapers, they deal with the dynamic. So you need to update your notes continuously, because you will require them at the level of the prelims plus mains plus interview. So we will keep covering such topics. I can cover these topics in bilingual or English language, and I would request all of you to tell me whether you have any doubts. You can post them in your comments. Okay. Also you can give suggestions. How can we improve things further? So I will see you in a separate lecture next time. Okay. Thank you.